Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Behind the Blue Tube Zoom sessions. And this is the second episode. And this is going to be a very fun and interesting and exciting session. Because we have special guests for today. Diba? Episode 1, we had the 5 recent graduates. So ngayon, we invited
the recent graduate.
I was gonna say, recent din kami, promise.
We have the courtside reporters and of Ateneo, and not just the courtside reporters lang. We have champion courtside reporters, diba? Everyone, they have something in common. We know that they're members of our team. They're part of the team. Diba? So you see them as yung courtside reporters, parang working for ABS-CBN. No, they're part of the team, so they're champions also. Diba? So we're very happy to be with them today, and we'll introduce each one. So we'll start off with our season 65 courtside reporter, Laurel-Filart. And Patty, how are you? And what are you doing nowadays? What keeps you busy?
Well, aside from being ancient, kala ko ancient reporter yung title, kinabahan ako.
Seasoned naman, seasoned.
Seasoned, I think I like seasoned versus ancient. But yeah, thank you for having us. And I think this is such a great reunion. It's also nice to see all these faces on my screen. And, you know, it's nice also for the community, diba? Na parang we really want this time to reminisce, to have all these throwbacks. So thanks, Coach, for having us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Season 71. This is a very unique season in terms of courtside reporting, because we have 2 courtside reporters, Kamae de Jesus and Portia Silva-Trinidad, with us today. So who'll go first? Dapat split screen kayo di ba? We'll go with Kamae first.
So hi, Coach. Hi, everyone. Thanks for inviting us, partner Portia. I think that's 71 was the only season talaga that any school had 2 courtside reporters. So that was us. And it was the first year of the 5P. So yay. And hello to the rest of the girls. I haven't actually met Selina and Jasmine in person. So hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello. And Portia.
Portia?
Yes, hi everyone. Actually, same with Kamae, my partner. I haven't met Selina and Jasmine, I've worked with her because I worked with a PR agency before. Same with Miss Patty. I don't know if you remember. Teacher Patty. And Jeff, of course, was my batchmate. Is my batchmate. Yeah, so yeah. So thank you again, Coach. As everyone else said, we're happy to be here and we're happy to be reconnecting with everyone.
Just a little reminder lang, who worked on weekdays and who worked on weekends. Diba?
Yeah, assignments. So Portia was doing the weekdays.
Correct, Thursdays.
And some weekends also, but because that was my senior year, and then my request then was because I can't do weekdays. So luckily ABS-CBN agreed to have like Portia as my partner.
Correct. Actually, I was also surprised kasi they were offering another team, and then parang a week before the UAAP our season opened, they called me and ayun, sabi ko, why not? Choosy pa ba ako? Sabi nila, you're gonna do just some of the games. I don't mind. It's Ateneo, right? So yun, happy to be partners with Kamae. So I did a lot of Thursdays, some Sundays, and during the championship, yun, kami both during the post-game interviews. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kamae and Portia. And of course, we'll hear more from them later on. Season 72 and 73. Jess.
Umalis eh.
Hi. From Washington. Diba?
Yep.
And how are you, Je?
I'm okay. I'm good. kakaiba na yung world, no? since we did all of that. Yeah, thank you, Coach, for reaching out. Nahiya naman ako sa inyong lahat. Talagang may timing pa because of the time difference. But yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and I'm excited to reminisce a little bit with everyone. Kanina nga iniisip ko when you sent the questions, Coach. I was like, tagal ko na iniisip to, and it feels really good to try to remember.
That's good. Thanks, Jet. Now, season 74, we have Jazz Reyes. Hi, Jazz. Just in time. Jazz.
Hi guys. I know. I'm so sorry. I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually out and about the past few weeks. So parang I just got home. I gotta make sure that naka-shower na ako and everything. Gotta disinfect and all. But it's so great. Like it's weird, but I'm so glad to see everybody here on the same screen. It's so exciting. This whole thing that's gonna happen tonight.
Hey, thanks, Jazz. Thanks for going home early just for this. And season 75, we have Selina. Dagdag. Selina?
Hi guys! So the same. Thank you so much, Coach Sandy, for putting this together. It feels great to be here because I remembered I watched a lot of you guys growing up. So there was Miss Pat, who was my professor at Ateneo. He was my, so just backstory, Miss Patty was my professor in AB presentation. And I remember the girl in AB ko, agawan sa slot niya ng enlistment.
Wow.
So, ang bilis maubos. Buti na lang first batch ako nun. So, I was able to sign up. And then also, yeah, I watched you guys, Kamae, Portia, Jessica, of course, and Jazz. So it's such an honor for me, guys, for me to be a part of this roster. So, buti na lang nakapanalo yung Ateneo ng championship that time.
So thank you to the teams because because of them, nandito kami lahat.
And just to defend Patty, when she was in third year college, she started teaching already. So,
yes.
Diba?
I was very advanced for
Yes.
her age. But it's amazing like the trajectory, diba? Parang from my season all the way to Selina, diba? Parang ang galing lang. Like, I think different generations, but we have experienced the same thing. So, nakakatuwa, diba? There's something that unites all of us. Kahit iba yung technology namin noon. At ang technology nyo ngayon.
And it's very interesting because that's the same thing that the players also say, that we also say that throughout every yung team, parang may connection talaga eh. So, parang pag Blue Eagle ka, automatic there's a connection, di ba? There's something that binds us together. I guess especially you, di ba? So that's very good to hear. Okay? Now, got a couple of questions for you guys. Okay? First of all, I think some people may have forgotten this, no? But this question, how did you become a courtside reporter? Because all of you were very good sa pagre-report, no? Being a courtside reporter. But question is, how did you become a courtside reporter? Maybe you can start, Kamae?
Actually, when I auditioned for it, and you know this, Coach, I didn't know anything about basketball. So when they asked me, okay, like, simulate this scene, I was really silent. But I told them, so I go, call me after 2 weeks. I'll study basketball and like, let's do this again. So luckily, they gave me a chance. But yeah, I auditioned that year. But prior to that, I was doing hosting na rin. So I kind of figured when I was on my senior year na parang, let's give it a shot. And I knew we had a very strong team. So big chance of being champions. So I tried out. There we go. Let's do this.
How about you, Selina? How do you become a courtside reporter? What's your story?
Well, I remember I was a sophomore in Ateneo. That time, so I was about 18 years old. And then I was working out in Moro Lorenzo gym. I was waiting for my brother to finish his training, who was back then a part of the track and field team. So after mag-workout, they're at your locker room. And I noticed while I was dressing up that I was blocking the view of this lovely woman behind me. So I put aside my body, myself, and my stuff, and I apologized to her. Then we got to chatting. And then it was a lovely chat. At the end of the chat, she asked me if I ever thought of becoming a courtside reporter. And I thought it was, God, that's a cool idea. Because as I mentioned, diba, I used to watch you guys growing up. So it was at the back of my head on my way home. Tapos sakto pagbukas ko ng TV pag uwi, yung unang lumabas na commercial was a commercial on how to apply as a courtside reporter. So sabi ko, nakasign to, serendipity. So nagpadala agad ako ng email, gano'n. And then, yun, I submitted my application. I went through like the screening process. I'm not so sure how it was like for you guys, but during my time, we had like 5 rounds. So round 1 to 3, different tasks. So by the 5th round, sobrang narrowed down na yung options nila direct, nila Miss Malu, nila direct Al. I'm not so sure if you guys had the same directors. And their last assignment for us was to make a report on the Blue Eagles. Sabi ko, naku, patay tayo. Because that time, the team was in Las Vegas for their off-season training and scrimmages, so there's no way I could get a report on them. But, you know, I tried my best. I tried my luck. I went to the head office of the Blue Eagles in Moro, and then I knocked on the door. And that was a moment I'll never forget, because the moment I knocked on the door, the woman who opens it was that lovely woman who I met at the gym, and that was her very own Tita Mita. So Tita Mita bridged. It was like, what? Mind blown. So Tita Mita bridged me through Skype pa. Like, he helped me get in touch with some of the people in Las Vegas. I remember I spoke to Coach Sandy, Coach Yuri, a couple of the guys, and thankfully I was able to come up with a report. And then from there it went uphill, and I was very blessed.
Wow!
5 rounds, huh?
I don't know. Was it, were you supposed to, because for us, diba, you just applied to be a courtside reporter, and they ask you, are you willing to report for a team that's not your school? Ganun pa rin ba for you guys, or was it?
Oh, you guys are really reporters, because there's follow-up questions.
Curious lang.
Actually, during my time, they didn't ask me na, pero
No.
I remember the challenges were like, they make you listen to a huddle, and then they make you come up with a report. That was the first challenge. Then the second challenge was, tapos natatandaan ko yung huddle pa napakinggan ko that time was like Coach G Abanillas. Lasal pa yun. So hindi ko kilala yung players ng Lasal. But yeah, like, you come up with something. And then those are the challenges. And the 5th round, they just told, like, email na I'll be assigned to Ateneo, like that. But I know it still happens. Like, the batches after me, you could get assigned to a different school.
How about you, Jessica? What was your experience?
It's kind of similar to Kamae's. I was already working, tama ba? Trying to remember. I was already working at Magic. I was a senior in college, or coming in, I forget. Pero it was Boom Gonzalez who said, you should audition. So I was like, wala akong alam tungkol sa basketball. Like, paano ba yun? So I was like, paano ba yun? But I did the same thing. They asked me what I knew about basketball. I said, you know, not a lot, but I'm willing to learn. Talagang inaral ko. And then I remember, wala kaming mga parang, I think they did have a stand-up and like maybe talk a little bit, but I don't remember any parang challenges. Parang MTV VJ Hunt. I don't remember that. But yeah, I think it was one of the first things I did. I think it was after I was assigned na. Was I went to their practices. Naalala ko pa, I was wearing by accident a green shirt, and Coach Norman was like, what is she kidding? I was like, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, I can imagine.
I was just like, galing akong school, syempre, diba? So whatever, kung t-shirt lang suot mo, hindi ko naman inisip. Hiya ako. Never na ako ulit ng green. Tinapin ko ata lahat ng green ko after that. But, and sorry if I'm speaking a lot of Tagalog kasi mas pinapractice ko yun, wala. I don't have any Filipino friends here. I don't get to speak Tagalog.
We will speak Tagalog para ma-enjoy mo yung moment na ito.
I tell my family all the time. I know! I tell my family all the time. Pagkausap ko sila lang yung tinatagalog ko dito sa GC.
Wait, so what did you tell Coach Norman when he told you off because of your green shirt?
It was so hot, pero meron akong, syempre, diba, naka-windbreaker ako. So, naka-zipper, naka-ganon. Ang init-init pinapawisan ako sa loob, pero at least it was
Is ganda.
ang init-init kaya dun sa gym.
Next question naman, how did you prepare for a game? Given, of course, di ba, ang hirap kasi school work 9 to 4:30 or whatever yung pasok ninyo. So how did you prepare for a game? Maybe Patty, you could share.
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of people forget that when you're a courtside reporter, you're still a student, and you know how hard it is in Ateneo just to survive. Like the bare minimum na nga, like all students already have such a difficult time in Ateneo because it is the Ateneo, and then you have the extra pressure of performing sa work, diba? Tapos may extra time, kumbaga your little free time, you have to allot it to study and to really perfect the craft of understanding all the terms. So I remember like during my lunch break or yung mga breaks in between classes, I would actually ask my friends who were into basketball, like usually yung mga batchmates ko, we'd huddle in the cafeteria, like, guys, please explain in layman's terms. So I love that, my friends were all like, you know what, we're gonna help you understand all of it. So parang naging team effort na rin. And I had a lot of classmates then who were part of the team. So even during their break time, like, kinukulit ko sila, like I would ask questions. So I guess looking back now, it was really difficult, especially since you're trying to survive as a college student and then you're working also part-time. But looking back, I think it was really excellent training because I'm sure a lot of you, like I see all of these girls excelling in the field of media, parang because we started with courtside reporting na talagang you had to do the legwork, you had to do all the work talaga by yourself. It was such a great training, especially coming into media. Na when we were doing hosting, parang madali na kasi parang, people can help me because before I used to do everything. I used to be running around and getting all the information. And I think I also want to credit the coaching staff, and I always tell Coach Sandy this because, I mean, for me, sila yung naging mentor talaga for me. I remember like, I would always be like, yung nasa side, ano daw? Ano sabi ni Coach? Ano sabi ni Coach, di ba? And then, Coach Sandy would be, ganito yun, Patty, ganito yun. And at the same time, they're still watching the game habang kinukulit mo sila sa side. So, yeah, yung coaching staff, yan talagang best friends ng courtside reporters.
Actually, I'm lucky with, like, during our batch, Portia, during the huddle, she'd be the one going there because I'd have to report for the halftime break. So after, we'd exchange notes.
Correct.
So talaga we're like such a good partner.
Yeah, I went to all of the games, even to the ones that si Kamae would report.
That's great.
Kasi wala na ako alam sa basketball, so I really wanted to follow everything and to learn. So yun. And syempre, partners eh.
That's what I said. Like, lahat na erase na yung memory ko, like, because I had 2 sections already. So, when I watch the old games, my husband's like, wow, may alam ko pala sa basketball. I'm like, dude, legit ako dati, pwede ba? Wow, so, parang selective na yung memory ko eh. As a spectator na lang ako manonood.
Back to you, Coach Sandy. Like, freeze.
Froze.
Okay, Kamae, host na.
So, Miss Patty, I have a question.
Prof. Patty yan, bro.
No, I have to say this. That was actually
I'm back up dito, guys. Kasi lahat tayo nag-host. So,
Ayun, he's back.
there.
Sorry. If ano na lang if nag-hang uli, take over Sir Patty, take over. Okay. Now we'll ask Jazz. Jazz, how did you prepare for a game?
I think it's the same with Patty. Like, you get whatever resources you can find to help you out. But I think I also remembered before, I asked Je also, I went to her in Magic because she was in Magic and I was a junior jock before. And I asked her before we prepped through for the entire season. And that helped a lot as well, being able to touch base with somebody you also admire so much. Nax from the courtside world. It's a different world altogether. It's like a different beast. It's not something I'm used to. My background also, like, my family doesn't follow the games. None of my friends follows the game. So I really had to revamp like who I hang out with, who I get to talk to. And of course, I agree also with Patina. The coaches are your savior, especially if you don't understand and the tensions are running so high. Like Coach Sandy, you've saved me so many times as well. And apart from the coaching staff as well, like it's also talking to Sina Boom also. The commentators, like maybe after the game, like talk to them. Like what did you appreciate? What type of bits you liked the most? What can we bounce off from? So that not only are you talking to the audience, but also to the commentators, like them themselves, like you guys can have a nice back and forth.
Yes.
Let's ask ka na naman. Same question. Preparation for the game, Portia.
Well, apart from what si Prof. Patty and si Jazz already said, I watched a lot of YouTube videos of Patty. Kasi idol ko talaga si Patty yan eh. Yung very first batch. Tsaka of Leah. Si Leah.
Yes, Leah.
So, I was trying to find my reporting style because although I was like Kamae, we hosted ORSEM actually that year together. Diba yung hosting sa reporting eh. So, diba you have to have the kind of knowledge versus just, being able to be spontaneous during an event. So yun, it's a lot of YouTube, asking my friends kasi I really had no basketball knowledge, just like everyone else. So it was just that the first few reports, wala lang, win lang talaga. As in confidence na lang, kahit di ko na alam yung pinagsasabi ko, I'm not even sure if it's the right thing to say. Diba? You learn every report lang eh. And of course, yeah, like I agree with everyone else. Ang bait ng coaching staff. I think that really gave us the reassurance so we can do this job, right? Although not perfectly, the support is still there. So that's something that I really, really appreciated and helped me, be successful also. Be your courtside reporter.
I think for a lot of people, they might say na, oh, you don't know basketball, but how can you be a courtside reporter? I think that what people don't realize is you may know stuff about basketball, but you cannot communicate it properly to the people, diba? And that's what you were excellent with. You're able to tell the story, diba? And ang hirap nun kasi you're telling the story across to people who are just watching on TV. And couple of you actually, after college, proceeded pa to be a courtside reporter. Diba? And maybe we'll ask Jessica, what were the skills or attributes that you could say that helped you land this courtside reporting gig? And not only that, but excel and even have a career after college. Diba? What were the skills and attributes you can say?
I think all the women here have those things. It's yun nga. And not, you mentioned kanina, Coach, lahat kami comm majors. I think, yeah, that's part of like this, or contact. I think the skill is there, but I think the interest is a big part of it. Like you have to want to do it. Kasi, yun nga, it asks so much of you, lalo na if you don't know anything about the sport. It asks you to learn about the sport. Tapos kailangan mo rin matuto paano i-communicate yun. What are the stories that the audience is going to be interested in, and how do you get those stories? And I think those were things na, I think all of us had that potential before we started, pero you really had to dig and figure out which parts of those were in you as you were reporting. For the record, I had no intention of becoming a PBA courtside reporter at all. After 2 years sa UAAP, sabi ko, okay, tapos na. Whew, that was fun, pero I'm glad, gonna move on. Pero I graduated. I was a senior the first year. I was a reporter for Ateneo, and then I wasn't in school na the second year. And then a year after that, kinontak ako ng PBA. Sabi ko, gusto mo mag-audition? I was like, I don't know. Basketball ulit. Tapos mas marami pang tao. Sabi ko, oh no, I don't know. Mas marami pa akong kailangan kilalanin. But I tried out. Sabi ko, why not? And a lot of the stuff that I learned while in college, while with the UAP, really, really helped me through working in the PBA. It's a totally different animal in some ways kasi talagang you really needed to know what you were talking about. Tapos ang haba din ng history, diba? You're not learning just the history of one team. when they start hitting statistics from like such and such game in 1990, whatever, you're like, okay, kailangan ko alamin yun para mabigyan ko ng context when I'm telling my stories. But it was a lot of fun. And while you're right, I think just because you know basketball, it doesn't mean it's just like just because you know basketball doesn't mean you can become a player. I think it's a different set of skills. I also think it's something that if you're really interested in, you can learn and become very good at.
With Jessica, it's interesting also because even right now with your job, you're still telling a story.
Yes, galing.
Yeah, I love it. I love that.
Okay, thanks for that, Jessica. Selina, let's hear from you.
What attributes do I have? Yeah, well, I think for me, because I see myself as a sponge, like, you know, I was always willing to learn from veterans, from those who went ahead of me. That's why before I got the part for Ateneo, I remember I'd watch videos on YouTube, like throwbacks, and I tried to pick up a thing or two from the courtside reporters I'd watch. And I'd listen a lot to the directors in ABS-CBN, the commentators, sila Boom Gonzalez also. And lucky for me, because that time our coach was Coach Norman Black, who, as we know, is also a sportscaster. So, you know, he'd give me a tip or two, or he'd give me feedback after a game. So that's really helped. So I think my greatest strength is just really that desire or that ability to keep learning and to acknowledge the fact that, you know, there's so many others who are so much better at what I do. There's so much more I could learn from them. And like Jessica, I didn't plan also on doing PBA. But when I got invited, I remember my first thoughts were, sigurado kayo? Because I literally did not know any player in PBA. So I literally had to sit down. I had to Google everything. I remember when I'd knock in the locker rooms, I would have a picture of the player I was going to interview, and then I'm going to scribble their name on it para alam ko kung sino yung hahanapin ko kasi I was so clueless about the league. Thankfully, I learned, I managed.
One thing in common na, well, di nyo na sinabi, pero you're very good in storytelling. Saka, one thing in common sa atin, mga chismoso tayo, chismoso. Hindi nyo sinasabi. Di ba? Thanks for that, Selina. But we'll go to the lightning round questions. Yan. So let's have a little bit of fun. Okay? Basta whatever comes to mind right away, I'll throw some questions at you. First thing that comes to mind.
Coach, bumuboy abunda ka ha?
Oh,
Boy abunda.
Medyo pwede ng ano eh. Suggestion to ni Kamae. So,
yeah, meron pala siyang script writer, guys. That's me.
let's start with Je, okay? Mendoza or Mendoza?
Depends on who I'm talking to.
In the States, you say Mendoza.
Mendoza.
Okay, texting or talking?
Talking.
Oh.
Favorite day of the week?
Saturday. Boring, no? Like malamang. Saturday.
Favorite city in the US?
Ooh. Let's go to Washington. I love it here.
Last song you listened to?
Ooh.
I don't know. Wait lang.
You're a DJ.
Spotify. Former. Hindi ko alam. Wala akong sagot. Nakaka-stress. Oh my God. Hindi ko alam.
Okay,
next question.
Okay. Last question. That's it. We'll save Jeff. Any more questions? Sorry, na-pressure ka ba doon? Okay,
I just put Spotify on kasi tapos hindi ko pinapansin kung, alam mo yon yung they have the playlists na for you, so hindi ko na pinapansin. Matanda na ata ako eh.
Walang LSS, di ba dapat may LSS yon? Too much music in your life, kaya na-tune out mo na.
Yun na lang, let's go with that.
Okay, let's ask Patty. Patty, let's become a little bit more serious pagdating sa'yo, ha? Okay? Okay? Ready, Patty?
Go. Kapit. Go.
Okay, go. K-drama or real-life drama?
K-drama.
What's wrong with Secretary Kim? What's wrong with him?
What's wrong with Secretary? What's wrong with
Ang
Secretary?
pogi
Nothing
niya.
is wrong with Secretary Kim. It's the best K-drama ever.
Okay. But you didn't answer the question. Anyway, Captain America or Captain Ree?
Captain America.
Ha? Ako, Captain Ree.
Hey, Chris Evans.
Okay. Let's get back on track. Yun bin or garbage bin? Yun bin or husband?
Husband.
3 seconds. 3-second violation, ha? We have to edit that out. Okay, next. We have, for Selina. Okay. Kevin Bacon or Kevin Costner?
My goodness. Kevin Bacon.
Okay. Kevin Bacon or Kevin Cosme?
Alam na, Coach.
Ay, sorry, sa ating lang panahon pa.
Next generation yan.
My bad. Lumabas age mo, ha?
Sa akin yun eh. Na-overlap. Naging estudyante ko na nga si Selina eh. Hello,
Okay.
ganun yung age gap.
Sorry. Okay, balik tayo kay Selina. Balik tayo. Ace of Spades or King of Hearts?
Ace of Spades.
Yan. Okay. Pagdugtong nyo na lang yung sinasabi ko, may connection
Oo
nyo.
nga eh. Context clues.
Context na lang. Balik na tayo sa question. Jazz, what was the biggest challenge that you faced as a courtside reporter? Given na that you didn't know much about basketball coming in, but during the season now, what was one of the biggest challenges you faced?
One of the biggest challenge, si Coach Sandy, very challenge. Joke lang. Hindi.
Napaisip.
Biggest challenge. I think apart from managing everything like with studies and courtside and all, I think it's also making sure that I just wanted to make sure that I just give a good report out.
His boys to stay hungry. And with a squad laden with a great mix of rookies and veterans, you're sure that the Blue Eagles will be confident that the off-season's practices will definitely pay off today.
Parang napapressure ako minsan when I feel like, let's say, out of the 5 or 6 reports, I only felt like 3 of them were good. So sometimes that gets into your head, and it's difficult to tune out, I guess, people who comment stuff about you. I mean, it's unavoidable that there's always going to be positive and negative comments. But I think tuning out what's helpful criticism and tuning into what you can offer the best way you can. I think that was the most challenging, but the best lesson I've learned through courtside reporting. And I think I've applied that even after courtside.
It's different. Iba yung you're reporting in front of, di ba, thousands, billions watching on TV. I mean, I could just imagine the pressure that you ladies felt, no? Yeah. The big pressure. How about you, Portia? Any other challenges?
Well, connected to what Jazz said, parang it's hard not to listen to everybody. Lalo pag first time, di ba? You have this, during our time, kami, I guess for others also, parang peak pa nung Pinoy exchange, Bex. Parang, di ba, when you Google yourself, that's the first thing that comes out. And nung after the first report ko, I Googled myself. Actually, I learned that after from Direk Abet. Yun yung first lesson that I learned from him. Just filter it out. Don't look at the forums. Don't read everything. Kasi talagang wala. They will say everything, good and bad and everything in between. You know, you just learn to listen to the people who really matter. And those are the coaches. Your family also will give you very, very honest feedback. So that's what I learned. And second is just to challenge, ano ba? it's just too, it was also challenging to enjoy the games at the same time when you're trying to report it and try to follow and, pick out the details which, you will have to report about or to, to say on cam. Kasi sometimes you're there, you're not a fan of the school, you're not a fan of the team, you're a reporter also. So for me, that was quite a challenge kasi I entered, I think I really auditioned as a courtside reporter kasi may crush ako na basketball player. Okay, so yun lang. Crush was Kurt Long yung time na yun.
For somebody, they'll go to Otto. 4 seconds to go. Otto zips it to the open lob. Yes! Yes! What a shot! What a shot! And if they convert this, Ateneo has won this ball.
And then, yun lang. Parang,
I didn't even know that, partner. You can tell me that.
I didn't tell anybody naman. Wala naman akong agenda. Wala akong agenda or anything. It's just a fangirling, fangirling moment that you get into the hype of it, and yun lang. Yun. So that was quite a challenge for me.
Wow, hindi Chris Chu, nagulat ako, Kurt Long.
Hindi ko talaga kasi Chris Chu. Actually, nagulat marami. I mean, pogi siya. Pogi talaga, di ba?
Finding Chris Chu, who at that point, 3 out of 4 from beyond area code, make that 4 out. Chris Chu buries Lasal.
Pwede sabihin na hindi pogi. Pero I looked at him more like a kuya than a crush. Bait din niya. Di ba, Kuya Chris? Kahit kami. Yun, more like a kuya. Pero, coach, hindi talaga. Kahit no high school ako, lahat, Chris Chu, di ba? Ganun. Wala, hindi.
Yeah, whatever, ganun lang.
Ganda ko no?
What was the most memorable game, or if not game, moment? I'm sure maraming flashbacks yan sa inyo, but what's the most memorable moment that you can share with us? Maybe let's start with Jessica.
There are a lot. And actually, ngayon habang nag-uusap tayo, I'm like remembering things that I haven't thought about in a long time. Siguro yung, hindi ko alam kung ito yung first Ateneo Lasal game ko or one of them, pero naalala ko kami ni Erin Torrejon. As in, magkahawa kami ng kamay, parang girl, kaya natin. So like, you walk out, and then, I mean, I'm sure the players, even the coaches can probably relate, like, naka-overwhelmed. And I'm like, what am I, ano ulit gagawin ko? Shocks. Like, patay. And you feel, like, the pressure that you feel for every game, parang super taas pag Ateneo Lasal. So, that was one. Tapos this other one, I don't know if I remember it because there's a picture or if I would have remembered it otherwise. But I think it was the first championship ko, like my first season, so 72. Binuhusan ako ng, I don't know who it was, pero nasa locker room ako, I was wearing my like jacket, pero binuhusan ako ng water from the cooler. Tapos, katabi ko, for some reason, si Ryan. and so, there's this big picture of, like, ito, ginamit to for so many, parang mga memories of championship games. Tapos, basang-basa ako. Tapos, magkatabi kami. Tapos, parang I was looking at him. I just remember that first, you know what, that might have been the second year, actually. Kasi natuto na ako mag-jacket pagpasok ng locker. So, and it was right. So it was one of those years, but I remember very clearly that parang moment na everybody, alam mo yung everybody was so excited, so happy. Tapos yung pagganon mo kasi basa ka bigla. So, but there were a lot of others in between.
In other words, you're blaming Ryan.
Yes.
Aww.
Or I'm remembering. So.
Thanks. Actually, I remember that photo nga. You're correct. Parang kumalat yung photo yan. Kasi it was...
Mukha naman akong
I think it captured the moment It captured the moment. Diba?
I think I saw this photo nga rin. Oo, yeah.
I remember thinking talaga, yan yung pinili.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was really Ryan.
Now, Jeff mentioned Ateneo Lasal, di ba? Iba yung Ateneo Lasal game. I think we have a couple of others here that also experienced an Ateneo Lasal championship. So, iba yung first round, second round sa championship di ba? So, Patty, maybe you can share your experience.
Yeah, it was historic eh. I think I remember getting into the championship. It was historic because it was LaSalle and Ateneo, and after a drought, diba? So even for me as a daughter of an Atenean, because my dad was also Atenean, so parang, anak, yung pinagdadasal namin. Parang, feel mo yung several generations praying for that moment, and then parang you're right there smack in the middle. And I think for all the girls here, it's so hard to distinguish whether you're a fangirl or you're there as a reporter, and minsan nagbo-blur talaga yung lines, especially when you're just, you feel so much emotions. And I remember just hugging everybody. Like, hindi ko na alam kung sino yinakap ko. But I just remember just jumping, hugging, and it was just so nice to be part of the Ateneo community. Whether it's a championship versus another team, whether it's syempre heightened pag LaSalle, but the feeling of belonging is just so heightened. Especially when you're a courtside reporter, because you're right in the middle. I remember you're there listening to the crowd cheer. You can hear the drums. Basta it's an exhilarating feeling. Like even now, it's been 18 years. May 18-year-old na pinanganak nung time na yun. Okay. And ganun nakatagal. But even now, I mean, I get goosebumps just telling my children about the experience. Siyempre, yung anak ko too. So parang, hindi mo niya gets. Pero feel ko talaga. Every time I say it. And yes, it's something that unites all of us women here. Like, even if we weren't players, it was just that belonging to this wonderful community. And my husband jokes me kasi sometimes parang nag-drift away ako in my Ateneo memory days. parang meron akong flashback moments. So parang, wow! And I guess it's only Ateneans who can understand it.
Yes. the bond is different even after. Like you go to reunions and you see Atenistas, and you end up talking about the championships that you won, bonfires, diba?
Yes, the bonfire. I remember.
Hey, and because you were part of the team, iba yung perspective nyo diba? Na yung iba, meron diba? You can see everything diba? So, Kamae, any other memorable thing that, jumps out, parang ganon, that you'll remember every detail?
Ako, the first ever game of season 71 was at Ateneo LaSalle. It's not even the championship. And then parang instead of direct Abbott, we're saying, when you go out there, just focus, cancel out everything else and focus on the report. And the moment you step out, parang you see I remember 21,700 people in Araneta. And the courtside reporter for LaSalle then was Sharon Yu, who's such a pro. So parang we were practicing sa dugout, tapos parang, oh my God, this girl, she's memorized it to a T. Tapos ako, I had my notes, right? And then you step out and you see the crowd. Tapos feel mo pa yung drums from the ground floor. And the bubble was way up there in the GA. That was, that's that's the memory that I'll always start my kwento. If I go to reunions, I'd always say the very first Ateneo LaSalle of season 71 was such a remarkable experience.
What about
I'm getting goosebumps.
Parang sarap to reminisce, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
And even the floor, wala lang. I just remember sitting on the floor was like the best seat in the house. Parang what an honor. Nakaupo ako dito sa may cooler.
Yes. Nadadaanan ka ng players.
Yeah, papatakan ka ng pawis, gano'n.
Right, yung baptism of fire mo, first ever game at Ateneo LaSalle kagad. Wow.
Yeah, and then I remember forgetting my first line. Tapos si Larry De Young, parang siya, what's happening? Sabi ko, wait. Okay, compose. Kamae, compose yourself. You do your job.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, Jessica has to go na. She has to
Yeah.
work. Jessica, thank you very much. Thank you.
Jessica,
Thank you for having me. It's nice to see everyone. Thanks for letting us reminisce and share.
There, ha? Ingat.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. Same question. Same question. Let's go with Jazz. Jazz.
I think
Memorable for you.
I think the most memorable, syempre, maraming little moments that are memorable that I really enjoy. And I think some of them are not even in the game also. Like some of them are just in the gym when you're practicing and then you get to talk to some of the players and you get to talk to them about stuff apart from basketball, which I loved so much because it humanizes them in a way that, syempre, everybody, idol status sila. So it's so wonderful to see the human side of these players. Like, we all know they're human, pero, syempre, you get that extra special moment with them, and I really, really, really appreciate that. And those are the things I remember the most. But one of the other memorable moments was when I first became so emotional when I heard our school anthem play in the big arena. Like that one talaga. I think every time, whether especially if it's a win, but even if it's not, like you just feel the heart, the spirit of everybody there. So parang naiiyak ako for some reason. I'm like, oh my God, hindi ako pwede umiyak. Pero nakakaiyak talaga. So I think there was a game where I actually just went, okay, napaiyak talaga ako. I'll let it go. And those are the moments talaga that I will never, ever, ever forget.
Tama.
Mm-mm.
Okay, and especially yung sinabi ni Jazz na once you get to know the players, you'll realize, wala pala itong mga to no?
Ay, hindi yan tinap! Oy! Gaslighting!
Sorry.
They're even more amazing when you know about their life at home, what their other ambitions are, what it took for them to get there. Mas namamahal mo sila.
Yes. And again, I mean, I always say this to my friends. You have to understand that Ateneo it's just so difficult to be a student in Ateneo. And then they were top performing athletes. So be on top of your game in the court and then still submit your papers on time, do oral exams, studies. They didn't get special treatment. I mean, even students first treated them like, revered them as gods. But in the classroom, you know how Ateneo is. It's like, pare-pareho kayo, you still submit on time. The professor will, in fact, give them extra pressure because, they really had to prove that they earned that slot with their credit talaga, diba? So, I mean, you appreciate na parang ang hirap maging student-athlete. And so, for me, I remember I was classmates with Larry Fonacher, sila Magnum Membrere, and I would see how they would really study. And so, even if, people would see them as, gods on court, pag seatmate mo sila, parang pareho yung stress level. So, pareho yung deadline ko hindi nagbabago. So, yeah, you appreciate also the community na parang at the end of the day, they were still students. So, yeah, I can completely relate to Jazz na parang sobra yung saludo ko sa kanila and I appreciated the student-athlete concept even more.
So, pati kasama mo si Larry Fonacher and Magnum Membrere. So, you also saw how corny they are. Diba? Corny pala to, diba?
Magnum! Yeah. So, diba, makikita mo talaga yung how they are as actually, if you think about it, they were kids, diba?
Yeah.
They were together. And yet, they were carrying the pressure of the whole community, diba? So parang emotionally then mabigat for them.
I was gonna say that. Like, some people don't see that we're part of a really good community that yung mga alumni, but the pressure also is very high. And like, it's on the athletes, the coaching staff, like, you'd see it. But anyway.
Pati kayo. Selina, any other memorable moment you can share?
Of course, winning the 50, that was very memorable. Syempre, it's so nice to see the guys victorious after talagang working so hard the entire season. The hosting, the bonfires are also really great kasi iba yung atmosphere. But I think personally for me, one of the most memorable moments was kasi during my time, you could only be a courtside reporter for 2 years max because, you have to give chance to others like that. A lot of girls wanted to audition. So then on my second year as courtside reporter, I had to say farewell already to my post. And so yeah, I remember I did my last report and then I signed off, parang ganon. And it was a bittersweet moment for me. But ito yung time na pauso yung Twitter. So I remember after that game, I went into the production room. And then when I checked my Twitter, I was trending. It says, "Thank you, Selina." And I got so, talagang I cried. Kasi parang, I expected the Ateneo community to do that for coaches who are about to step down their posts, like Coach Norman, or players who are about to play their last year. So I definitely did not expect the community to do that for me, like, to say thank you and such. So sobrang naiyak ako doon. Like, for that was something really special. And, up till this day, parang sabi niyo nga kanina, you guys were talking about the sense of belonging. Iba, pag Ateneo, talagang you feel you're part of the family. You touched up on that earlier, Coach Sam. So that was really special and memorable for me.
So sweet.
Oh.
Wala pa kaming Twitter doon.
Oo nga eh. Kaya sabi ko yung pauso
pa
pala.
yan?
Papadala nila sa akin.
Postcard na thank you talaga.
Madali itong mag-branding lang kasi bago pa lang yung Twitter. Ngayon, grabe.
Poster pa daw ng time mo. Kari, poster.
Out, gano'n.
Well, Portia, let's hear from you. Most memorable experience.
Well, I think first, it's sharing the responsibility with Kamae. So I really, really appreciated that. As I said, parang una, I was asked to report for another school. So, okay, nakapasok ka, di ba? What are the chances? And then I got a second call. Tapos parang una, hindi pa nila ni-reveal kung ano, ganyan. Tapos when I found out, I was gonna share it with Kamae. But nasabihan din ako noon ng ABS na, but during the introductions and the press con, it will be Kamae na i-introduce. Sabi ko, I don't mind at all. Just giving me the chance to be able to report for Ateneo. Then
Trouncing the De La Salle Green Archers, Team Ateneo had more than enough time to shape up for the semifinals.
Responsibility. That's already a privilege na I will take any time of the day. I think when I first came out also, I think it was also memorable because, I don't know, second or third game na siguro yun. In San Juan Arena, Pasig Arena, I think. Tapos after nun, on social media, people were so confused. Sabi niya, iba yung itsura ni Kamae. Sabi ko, no. Iba yung itsura ni Kamae. Tapos may mga screenshot. Tapos tawa talaga ako. Sabi ko, okay, sige, nakakatawa. And then, it's always, yung isang reporter yung mas maliit. Ganon. Always you identify yung maliit. Yung mas maputi. Kasi Kamae is morena. So I think that was memorable for me. Kasi yun, as Kamae said during the introductions, kami lang yata talaga so far, no? Na tandem, even from the other schools, wala. And then I think, ang dami pang issue nun, Kamae, if you remember, parang baka may rivalry, gano'n, just kind of competition siya, which never happened. Yeah. No, di ba? To make it a competition between us. Pero it wasn't at all. I think, super thankful na mabait si Kamae. I learned a lot from her.
No, I'm super thankful sa'yo. Portia really saved me all note pag-huddle. As in, parang ko, like, I didn't get to hear what they were saying. So I'd ask Portia and then I'd go to Coach Sandy. Tapos titignan ni Coach Sandy yung notes ko. Ayan, pwede. Ito, hindi.
We're a team eh. That's why we did that. We're a team eh, di ba? We're part of the team. So yun. So that was really, really memorable for me, Coach Sandy.
Tandem actually, now that I hear about it, nakakatuwa din eh. Kasi at least you experienced it together, di ba?
Saka parang hanggang ngayon, tandem pa rin kayo, guys. You guys are so cute. Finish each other's sentences.
So, ate ko talaga si Kamae. Diba? Late ko to si ate.
Tsaka coach, parang mas mahirap pala yung ginawa nila. Like, you make them right. At natanda ko ng time ko pag halftime, ayaw kasi ni Coach Norman na pumapasok sa huddle pag halftime para no distraction. So, after ng halftime, si Coach Sands, ibubulong na lang sa akin kung anong i-report ko for halftime.
Siguro kasi maliit ako, so di nila ako nakikita. Pasok ko na ako, tapos nandun lang ako. Tapos labas ako bago ako makita. Yun eh.
Talent.
No, but I was saying that with Kamae and Portia, may automatic teamwork and closeness, di ba? Kasi it was automatic. But for the others also, who were you closest to sa work ninyo being a courtside reporter? Maybe we'll ask Jazz. Jazz, who were you closest to during those times?
Well, reporting mismo on the court, syempre, Coach Sands, gotta give it up to you. But also, I had moments with Coach Norman, like Selina also, that helped me become a reporter. But apart from that, I also had a lot of help by talking to Boom, kasi since he is from Magic and I was a junior jock, so I was able to get those tips from him also, even post or pre-game. For players naman, I became close with Gwen, as well as Justin. So Gwen and Justin, so I got to talk to them as well, and it was so nice because even after everything, I always hit them up, sometimes on Facebook as well. Kamusta din. So parang it's not just all about work. It's gaining friends as well because of work. So I really enjoy them. Those are the memorable people that comes up in my mind when we're talking about sino ba yung mga pinpoint kong tao na pinaka-close ko or helped me along the way.
Thanks, Jazz. Patty, how about you?
Well, for me, I guess the same. It was just a feeling of belonging again. So everyone from the alumni association, even from ABS-CBN Sports, kasi I came into it with zero experience in hosting. So I was learning basketball, but I was also learning the actual craft of hosting. So I remember I really learned a lot from sila Sir Seb, sila Jude, and even just the production. Sila talaga yung kumbaga naging poste for me to actually learn, the actual work. And then the coaching staff, even the team managers, and of course the players, they were the ones who were very patient with me. But I think as a whole, it was really the Ateneo community. Like I came in and I just felt so welcome from day one. And I think because you felt the warmth of the community, parang that's what gave me the confidence. And like I felt like I really had to do my best. Parang I owe it to the community. So every time na nagkakamali ako and I would feel down, I'd always think like, no, Ateneo deserves the best from me, so I'm gonna try again. So yeah, I know it sounds so cheesy now to hear it, diba? But there's just this magic about being part of something, and only an Atenean will understand it. Like when you talk to a fellow Atenean, they'll be like, yeah, it's true. There's just something about their community. And so yeah, those are like I have a long list of people to credit, but it was just such a great experience, especially like most of you girls here, diba? I was a kid, and every time I think about it, I was a kid given the best opportunity ever. And so everything that I've experienced later on, I always credit back dahil nga nabigyan ako ng opportunity na to.
Patty, you made Courtside look so cool. That's when I started watching.
Thank you.
Yung time. And then wait, she's not here, but Leah also. Leah,
actually, that's one of my favorites also. She was such a courtside reporter.
Right.
And you guys all did. I think what's nice about how everything progressed, parang when I would watch the games, everyone would have their own style. Like what Portia was mentioning, like you're trying to, develop, you want to learn from the legends, diba? I learned a lot from Pia. I remember I even learned a lot from George Rocha, who was in the other school, but she was also dear to me. Pero you also wanted to develop your own, style. And that's what made me watching all of you guys appreciate it more. Kasi alam ko, ang hirap eh. And siguro, as a spectator, parang, shucks, naawa ko sa mga courtside reporter kasi minsan, ang hirap niyan, guys, ang hirap niyan. You know, kunyari, very high intensity na yung laban. And yet, you're trying to deliver it as clearly as possible. So, yeah, you really appreciate the different styles of hosting them.
Kamae, maybe we'd like to hear from you. Na-share mo na si Patty was, you really admired.
I started watching that year. Sabi ko, oh my gosh, parang it will be fun. Kasi I think I was in high school. I was kind of dabbling into hosting na rin. So sabi ko, I wanna give it a try when I go to college. But my first 3 years, parang, I didn't mind. Tapos on my 4th year, I came across that ad. And I told myself, okay, let's give it a shot. And then there.
Let's go to Kamae de Jesus. Who do you have with you, Kamae?
Yes, Room, I have 2 of the members of the winning team this year. We have Jai Reyes and Rabal exciting Jai.
And I did a commercial where we had to be nerds.
Let's talk about that commercial, shall we?
First, dami nating energy pa noon pa.
It was first day. First day, kasama pa namin si Rich Alvarez.
And we worked with 2 other Atenistas. And then there, diba, during the shooting days, parang we kind of like grouped together. Iba talaga the community. And we're just talking about the games, how it is in Ateneo. I love Ateneo.
I know. No, but I guess it's like it's more than just being courtside reporter. I think it's just the feeling of being in a school that you really believe in and incredibly honored and proud to be part of. Like, I remember coming into school even before my courtside days na parang, I'm just so lucky. I'm so lucky to be here. And so it's heightened more when you're actually called to be a representative of the school that you already love so much. So yeah, kaya parang extra kilig to be a courtside reporter.
I was about to say, di ba, Patty and Kamae, di ba, memories ngayon bumabalik, di ba? Ang dami nating naalala ngayon. Do you remember your dance steps in that commercial?
So, cute. Kamae is such a good dancer. And
Are you sure that was me?
So let's have Kamae dance and then Patty sing that jingle.
I cannot remember.
On the spot.
She won Famas. Patty won.
Wow! Wow!
Famas.
Really? Hindi ko naalala yan ah. Wow.
So Kamae and I were like parang nerds. So I was brainy high. And may mga lumalapit sa akin sa supermarket. Papatulong ng assignment. Tapos, hindi po talaga ako matalino.
Next question that I have for you, I think some of you already mentioned it, no? But your experience as a courtside reporter, I'm sure you learned a lot of things, and we could certainly say that even your life after being a courtside reporter, marami kayong natutunan from that experience that you used or that helped you grow. So maybe some of you could share some of these things. Maybe start with Selina. Selina, very applicable sa'yo, but not just courtside reporting, other aspects of your life siguro.
Well, I think one of the lessons I really carried on with me was sometimes when God doesn't say yes to your prayers right away, it's not necessarily a no. Usually it's just maybe later or I have something better. I remember when before I got my break as Ateneo Courtside, I'd ask God, how come I'd only land print ads? Pang print ad lang ba ako? Yung mga uso pa dati, diba? So parang I was like, I wanted to do a lot of things. I also wanted to be talented on TV. It took a while. But then when God gave that break, tuloy-tuloy na. And then I understood why God said no to me in my previous attempts or my previous editions. And from the life of our athletes. Parang I've learned and I've seen this, I've observed this, not just covering the Blue Eagles, but also even our national athletes. You know, when I cover them in the Youth Olympics or in the Asian Games, the SEA Games, I noticed that the key to success is really to have a certain level of confidence that's backed up by a lot of hard work. You know, you see these athletes, talagang grabe yung, you know, they have a certain aura of assurance, a certain aura of confidence, of grit, and you know it's because it's backed up by a lot of hard work. And when they come in prepared, there's nothing that's impossible for them to do. And I noticed that I could apply that as well with my job. You know, even if like when I started covering quadrennial events or biennial events, you know, I had to cover golf. I had to cover a bunch of other sports like penchak silat. I've never even heard of penchak silat before, and a bunch of sports fencing. Just a bunch of sports that I wasn't familiar with. But you know, I put in the hard work. I tried to study as much as I could. I consulted coaches from those sports, and parang at the end of the day, God's really gonna help you pull it off if you put in the hard work.
Thanks, Selina, for that answer. Portia?
I think first and foremost, like just go for it. Don't second guess yourself. Yun nga, as we already mentioned, we came into this not knowing everything. Ako nga, to a point, nothing talagang nothing technical about basketball. I knew how the game is, etc. But yung technical stuff, oh my God, parang it took a while for me to really get the ropes of basketball and be able to communicate it well. It's just confidence lang talaga, like cheesy, believe in yourself, I guess. And as long as you have a strong support system like your family and your friends, diba? Go for it, diba? Wala nang second guess. Just do it.
Nag-freeze na naman
Freeze na
But
oh my God.
good.
Kasi sobrang ganda ng answer, nag-freeze si Coach.
Okay. My goodness, literally, where was I? Where were we? Sorry. Gano'n tayo kay Portia.
Kami.
Na, Coach. Okay na. Yeah.
Kamae. Yes, Kamae. Thank you, Teacher Patty, for...
Ito, di ko kayo.
Thank you.
Even I forgot. It's the learnings, no? The learnings.
Yes,
So I
yes.
guess, two things. Discipline. I was just reminded of that. It was mentioned during this whole session that, you know, primarily we are students. So parang it inculcated in me lang na, okay, I have to manage my time well, all of these things. And plus, before that nga, I was doing hosting na. So parang it was difficult. And on my senior year pa. So yeah, it was just challenged, and I just reminded myself, okay, I just have to make sure that I appropriate enough time for all of the tasks that I got myself into. That's one. Second, biggest takeaway ko talaga is being part of the Ateneo community. Even with when I moved into the corporate world, it kind of helped. Kasi you'd see Atenistas like everywhere, especially in the corporate world. And when you talk to them and you talk about the love for Ateneo, there's an immediate bond. So basically those two for me.
May wink pa.
Yeah.
Sorry. Wait lang ha. I'm still Googling Inculcating. In India? Ba't yun ito?
Calculator daw.
Ang galing!
Brainy high. Patty, things you learned from your experience as a courtside reporter.
I loved all the answers of all the girls, and those are the things that I also carry with me even after 18 years. But I guess for me, the biggest takeaway would be to remember the people who helped you. I think your success is really also possible because you are surrounded by people that God has, assigned to be with you, to walk alongside you. So every time I remember about the wonderful experience with the Ateneo Blue Eagles and the UAAP, I remember each and every person that was patient with me and really encouraged me at the time. And so moving forward, I also carry that with me in helping other people also find their own success. That it would be
And for others.
Yeah, if you like, diba, pay it forward, like if other people help you, parang find ways to also prop other people and help other people find their success, find their dreams. And so, yeah, that's something that I really appreciated. And again, like what Kami said, iba talaga yung Ateneo community, and to feel the love and the warmth of, fans and alumni and, teachers, even your fellow students. I think even now that I've been XX number of years out of college, those are still the best years that I still remember. And so, para na akong sirang plaka saying it to my kids, but it's something that I wish for them too. I genuinely wish that my children would also feel that same love and warmth of the Ateneo community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Inspiring talaga, Teacher Patty.
Right, teacher.
Inspirational.
Oh. I was thinking of it the whole time when everybody was talking, and pero same lang siya with Madam Patty. The most important lesson is to make sure that every person that you meet, I mean, in general, as a human being, you gotta be nice to them, because one way or another, your paths are gonna cross, and you learn something from them, and you want that in this lifetime. If there's something that you could do to be remembered by, or just to feel like you really did something apart from just existing, is just to be nice to anyone and everyone out there. I think we're learning that even more so during these unprecedented times, like to reflect on what it is to be human, what it is to be Magis, and what it means to be an Atenean across the school's borders. I think we're learning that again. It's a whole new education in these times, and I really feel like that it started with Courtside.
Ateneo.
Yes.
Our philo classes
Yeah.
and philo classes. We'd go through 3 philos and philos.
Tagalog naman
Yeah.
Ang hirap.
Sobra.
May meron.
Okay, my side story. So my boyfriend's not Atenista. And like when we go to gatherings, he'd be quiet. And I wish he understood.
Yes.
Like how passionate you'd get when you actually tell stories of not just basketball, like JG saw, like we had that Somol, sorry, Patty. But yung Rizal Live, like all of these areas.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I wish he understood. Anyway.
No, it was so funny because my dad is super Atenean, and when we were kids, we lived down south, right? He would drive us over the weekend to just drive around Katipunan and reminisce. And so when we were kids, we're like, Dad's going through something. But when I became an Atenista, it just
understood, right?
Oh my God, like everything that my dad mentioned, and that was generations before. So I guess it's just heightened because, of course, we were blessed to be courtside reporters. But I guess as long as you're a student of Ateneo, there's just like this secret magic thing that we're all like.
Okay, next question. Okay, you mentioned already the most memorable experience. How about sharing with us the funniest or most awkward, your choice, funniest or most awkward moment for you during your courtside reporter experience? And because it's awkward now, so ganon, di ba? So anything you'd like to share? I will go with Jazz. Jazz.
No, I wanted to listen.
I want to listen.
Wala pa ako there's so many, grabe. There's so many fumbles, mistakes with reporting, like not knowing that you were on screen. Akala mo nag-off na yung screen sa'yo, yung pala doon pa yung mukha mo. So many. I try to erase it in my brain. So parang hindi ko maalala in specific what it is, but I know there's so much.
Jazz, we'll go back to you later. Okay? So let's go with Selina, the youngest. So yung memory mo, dapat mas fresh pa yan, Selina.
Okay. Well, thankfully for me, my most awkward moment was not, it didn't happen on cam. Pero, yeah, like as Coach mentioned, diba, usually a day before the game, we show up in practice, we try to get as much reports as we can. And I remember during my time, I was so blessed because I was very good friends with the other student managers. Like, Coach, you know that, like me, Isa, Jack,
Say hi to them.
oh, hi guys! So yun, so sometimes, often we would try to lose weight together, we'd work out together, we'd go on diets, ganyan. So one of my college besties was Isa, Larry Fanasher's little sister. So we would always look forward to Father Nemi arriving in practice kasi si Father Nemi parating may dalang masarap na snacks. So yun, nag-arrive si Father Nemi, we were happy. Tapos pag upo ni Father Nemi beside us, kasi diba yung courtside reporter tsaka yung student managers nasa bench, parang sa gilid ng court. Ang pag-arrive ni Father Nemi, nakita niya yung wallpaper namin ni Isa. At that time, I remember our wallpapers were Victoria's Secret models. Tapos yung naka two-piece pa. As in, I remember back then, my time was parang Miranda Kerr was my wallpaper. And so we tried explaining to Father Nemi the concept of a fitspiration, yung fitspo. Na, we keep it visible, so we're gonna be inspired and encouraged to work out, to eat right, ganon. So we were trying to explain that to Father Nemi, and it's been years. Hopefully, he believed us. But I remember his reaction was like, huh? Why are your wallpapers like that? Are you girls that kind of thing in your kid? So yeah, we tried to explain it to Father Nemi. Hopefully, he believed us.
Thanks for sharing that, Selina. I'll take note. Pag mahuli ako ni Father Nemi na may...
It's so.
Boy yung sa'yo. Hindi naman believable if girl yung fitspo mo.
Sabi ko kay Father Nemi, Father, fitspo ko tong girl na to. Diba?
Si Hyun Bin nasa screensaver mo.
Coach, pwede mo katabi sa akin si Captain Lee. Dito lang. Lagay mo lang siya dito. Pwede na. Okay na.
Oo nga, parang green screen naman yan.
No, back then, Coach Sands knew this. When I was courtside reporting for Ateneo, I was so chubby talaga. Like, I was much chunkier and I was really trying to lose weight.
Hey, thanks for that, Selina. Awkward nga yan. Awkward. Tatanong ko si Father Nemi about that.
Oh my gosh. I wonder if he still remembers.
If not, I'll remind him.
Oh my gosh, no na. It's embarrassing ako dyan.
Okay, Patty, how about you?
I had two that I remember. One was during the huddle, sobrang intense. I don't remember what game, but I was in the huddle and then writing all my notes, and then the coach will go, okay. And then, naapakan ni Doug Kramer yung sandals ko.
Here we go, folks. Ateneo with one last play. They go to Doug Kramer underneath. Oh, wow. What a play! What a play for Ateneo! What a play by Coach Norman Black! I cannot believe how...
So, naiiwan siya sa huddle. So, I had to go back. I was like walking back. One.
Oh no! Cinderella story.
I didn't know how to go back and get the other sandal. I don't know how I got back. Yeah, so I just tried to pull it off. But yeah, that was really funny. And then the second, which really made me butchered like mad in Pinoy Exchange, was when I was so excited and I said, Rich Alvarez did a slum dunk.
Everyone has a story like that. Everyone.
It was like, Pinoy Exchange, siyang pinaka-barok na Atenean. How can she call herself Atenean? She can't even pronounce properly. Iyak lang ako na. But yeah, two funny moments for me.
Barok talaga. I think impossible that like any of us didn't go through that. I probably had like at least 5. Pero I'm thankful na lang kasi when they removed the video on you, parang you're muted na eh. They focus back on the game, di ba? So parang after that,
you're like, tama ba na narinig ko?
Yeah, okay na. It's just the first 3 sentences that's important that you don't get barok. The rest, You're off cam na.
A lot of pressure because I would call myself the 1x1 ID because, the game would be there and mukha kang 1x1 picture dun sa side. It's like, you're so tiny but still so much pressure, diba?
Yeah.
Di man ang passport size sana no?
1x1 talaga nakatira.
I remember.
Yeah, naman in Nokia. Nokia pa kami. 5110.
Oh, yeah. Good times. Yung Selina, siguro yung Samsung na eh. Maganda na yung framing nung court, yung the recent ones.
Oh, yeah. It was Samsung already. Dati pala ganun.
Maganda na yung framing kasi in the middle of, maganda na yung background.
Yeah.
Kami, any other moment for you that was funny or awkward?
Yeah. Me, one talaga that struck out. So, we won championships the second game. And we were all rushing out to go back to Jesus to hear Mass. And namatay ng battery yung car ko. So, everyone, like the rest of the team, you guys were in like the bus. And then, dinaanan niyo ako. Kasi tayo na yung last dun sa parking lot. Dinaanan niyo ako. Ano nangyari? Like, it was raining ko ba? May sumunod sa kanya. Tapos sabi, iwan mo na si Kami. Susunod na lang yan. Tapos sabi ko, wow! And then the bus left. Sabi ko, wow, they really left me ah. No one even stayed. But anyway, we all saw each other at Jesus. I didn't catch the Mass. But, yeah. So, naayos naman yung car ko, guys. Pero parang ako, wow, after the championship, iwanan. If you were in my shoes, parang, okay, hello, bye. Talagang dumaan lang yung boss, chinek out, tapos parang, okay ka lang? Okay, bye. And then they left. Wow. Anyway, yun ako sa
Coach Sands, how could you let that happen to Kami?
Sabi ko, si Portia naman partner niya.
No, kasi may family watch. So, my dad was there. I didn't know naman na nasiraan ka.
Yeah, grabe yun. Kasi the whole Ateneo stop. I went down, tapos parang, tara na, susunod na lang si Kami. Okay.
Kaya niyo na yan.
Yeah, that was fun.
They just believe that you were a strong woman. And
yes. I agree. For the record, I wasn't on the bus. I had the car.
Coach X.
Kasi kasi kasama ko wife ko eh. So pag nadaanan natin kayo, my wife would go down and help you and then I'll go to Jesus.
That actually sounds like you, Coach Sands. Joke lang.
So there. But all's good. We won the first year of the 5-peat, so forgivable. Champion na. Pwede na.
So ang lesson here, palaging may motolite na.
Correct.
Correct. Now.
Sa parking lot, may motolite.
Correct.
Correct. Sponsor pa yata. Aren't they a sponsor of...
Sponsor sila.
Yeah. Yan. Player of the game.
Player of the game,
lang, hindi naman courtside reporter ako. Nila ng motolite. Huwag ka daw assuming. Players only get the free motolite.
Your turn, Portia.
Okay, Portia, your turn.
Oh, awkward. For me, it's awkward because every time I would report, may apple box kami. May apple box ako. Because I think I'm the smallest in history. I'm just 4'11". So, palagi may patungan. Nakakatawa, di ba? Ang pangit. Dami kong pictures nakikita yung apple box. Nung championship, so I was assigned to interview post-game si Nonoy Baclao. It's very, very tall, di ba? So, tangkad talaga niya. So, we tried yung first shot. Nakatayo na ako sa apple box. Nakatayo rin siya. Sabi ni, si Direk Ariata yun, bakit mo siyang duwende? Sabi niya, narinig ko dito. Tapos sabi, try natin na nakaupo kayo pareho. So, umupo kami. Sabi ni Direk, sige na nga, adjust na lang natin yung frame. So, ang lapit talaga niya. Mukha kaming nagsiselfie na halos. So, yun, every time, talagang wooden crate na yun. Di ko nga sana hiningi ko yun souvenir.
With logo of UAAP na dun sa crate. Dapat.
Wala, actually, parang nakuha lang yun somewhere Parang, bigyan natin siya ng patawan, ang liit niya.
I remember that.
May laman ng mga oranges tsaka apples. Talaga.
Oo, yung mga ganon. So, yung iba, di ba, check mo yung makeup mo, gano'n. Ako, check ko yung wooden crate ko kasi hindi nila ako ilalive nung wala yung patungan ko.
Aww.
So yung interview mo, kung kay Papi 1 by 1, yung sa'yo iba, talagang whoop, blow.
O, talagang selfie kasi hindi talaga magtalo eh.
Okay, thanks for that. Jazz, may na-recall
Coach, wala talaga ako na-recall. Feeling ko na-erase ko na sa utak ko lahat ng mga embarrassing moment. Baka i-google ninyo, meron dyan. For some reason,
Sa Pinoy Exchange.
Actually, for some reason, since friends ko din yung ibang courtside reporters from other schools, naaalala ko yung sa isang friend ko, because she was a UP student, si Kat Salaw. She was a UP student. Tapos parang every time we talk about it, because we were partners on air on our radio show then, parang whenever I'm sad, she gave me the permission to watch her video na super embarrassing for her. Pero sabi niya, alam mo, she's gone to be over it because she brings happiness to people. And I think of all my embarrassing moments the same way. If I bring you happiness, if I make you laugh for the day because of my embarrassing moment, okay na, sapat na ako. At least I've made someone happy.
Okay yun. That will be my motto
diba?
for now.
Diba? Oo. Okay lang yan.
Sinadya ko yun to make you laugh. Very, very funny yung mga kwento ninyo.
Coach Sands?
Ha?
Oo nga. Ikaw naman your turn.
Oo, your turn.
Funny or awkward? Na-repress ko na rin sa ano eh.
Ay!
Like Jazz. Exactly what Jazz said.
Selective memory.
Sige. Coach, ako din nabigay ko sa'yo sa akin. If may naalala ako.
Yan.
Like I had a blooper rin on cam, pero it wasn't with Ateneo, it was with PSL volleyball na. Parang ang good na lang yung in-interview ko, as in, grabe, it was so funny. I felt so bad after this interview that I had to call Sir Sev. And then si Sir Sev was saying, just laugh about it because people on Twitter are laughing about it. Pero, buti na lang yung interview ko noon, former Atenista rin, na volleyball player. Tapos, sabi ko, so in-enumerate ko yung stats niya. But instead of saying excellent sets, I said excellent sex on television. Malupit pa yung mga Ateneo volleyball girls natin who were in that team. Sila, naggupi ko. Ginawan pa nila ng meme, yung nag-rewind. Excellent sex. Tapos, binagyan nila ng background music and stuff. Oh my gosh. But that was just recently in PSL na. Tapos yun, actually, eventually, I learned to laugh about it. I went home, I was so sad. I even told, I was talking to Sir Seth. I talked to Coach Sandy about it. Tapos, buti my fiancé, talked to my fiancé. Tapos sabi ng fiancé ko, he went over my house that day. Tapos ang sweet niya kasi nagdala siya ng compilation ng worst bloopers in Philippine history ng mga reporters. Tapos doon ko na-realize na, you know what, even our veterans, kahit sila Corina Sanchez, sila Karen Davila, they had the funniest bloopers. So, after that, I felt better.
Sweet. Patty's, clip there.
Slam dunk.
Slam dunk.
Slam dunk.
Forum. Guys, move on. Mga 3 weeks. Slam dunk. Tuloy, every time I would host and there was a word slam, I would like I choke. Host, can you change this word? I don't like this.
Replace,
Hindi trigger.
Grabe, diba?
Okay, I'd like to thank all of our guests, our special guests. Thank you for reminiscing with us. And I hope everyone that tuned in also, I'm sure natuwa din kayo from all the stories and it brought back a lot of memories. And, I just like to thank all of our guests today. Like I said at the start, they're as much as members of the basketball team. Lots of heart, diba? You can describe the Ateneo Blue Eagle teams to have pride, fighting spirit, hard workers. You could say all these things about these ladies here. And I think they're a big inspiration to a lot of people, a lot of girls, young girls, who'd aspire to be in their position, and very happy to say that knowing them personally, they're indeed good role models for for women out there. So once again, thank you very much, ladies, and thank you everyone for tuning in behind the blue tube. And watch out for more Zoom session interviews in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.